Hi, vinyl community. It's Doodad Dave coming at you on a sad night. We lost Garth Hudson today. He was 87, died in a nursing home up in Woodstock, his native Woodstock. The last remaining member of the band. So I just thought I would go through a couple of albums that I have of the band. We've got music from Big Pink, which came out in 1968 with the great Garth Hudson on organ, of course. There's the Elliot Landy photo from them up in the Catskills. And that's Garth on the, I'll go through here. Robbie Robertson, the guitar player. Garth Hudson on organ. This is Richard Manuel, who played piano and sometimes second drums. And the drummer and sometimes mandolin, Lee Van Helm, and lead vocalist, and the great Rick Danko with the hat there. And then they put their family on here. You know, it's a time when people were pulling away from their families, but they were very family oriented, and just a great bunch of guys for them. They had played with the Hawk. It's well known they were the Hawks with Hawkins, Ronnie Hawkins. They were their backing band. Levon was from Arkansas. The rest, of course, were from Canada. And you got the Capitol there. We Can Talk About It. Tears of Rage kicks off. It's 3 Dylan songs. We Can Talk, Wheels on Fire, and I Shall Be Released, that he had not recorded at the time of Big Pink. That's a Bob Dylan painting on the cover of the 5 guys. And then the house in Saugerties, where they went very famously to record in the summer of '67, and then it, you know, with Bob Dylan, which was the Basement Tapes, which we'll get to in a minute. The second album was the band, just the band, eponymously titled, and this was recorded out in LA at Sammy Davis's old house. John Simon produced the first and second. John Simon was a regular. He really knew his way around a tape recorder and helped them out a lot. There's Garth there with the beard again on the cover. And this had great songs. I mean, Rag Mama Rag, Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, Cripple Creek, Jawbone, King Harvest. You know, After the Wait, and Long Black Veil of the first album, Chest Fever. So many great band songs. I mean, I could go on and on. I really like all of them. Very sad about the end of an era, you know, the passing of, you know, Hudson being the last live person in the band. And I saw them in 1974. I saw them in the 90s. I saw them with Dylan and on the tour in 1974 twice at the Garden at Spectrum in Philly. This is Stage Fright. I see the man with the stage fright just stand up there, give it all his might. He got caught in the spotlight. When you get to the end, we're going to start all over again. Yes, so this has Just Another Whistle, Stop Sleeping, great Richard Manuel ballad, much like Whispering Pines on the last album. Great Richard Manuel ballad. W.S. Walcott, Medicine Show, Stage Fright, The Rumor, Daniel and the Sacred Harp. Robbie had a lot of great imagery from the Bible, biblical imagery. It's the green capital later. The other one had the orange capital label. I don't know if I showed the one from the Brown album. This was produced by Todd Rundgren. It said that if you want to get an album produced, get it produced back in those days, early 70s, late 60s. Frank Zappa, Neil Young, or Todd Rundgren. I think I mentioned this before, but worth mentioning again because the pure amount of albums that they put out. Next was Cahoots, and this is one of my more recent pickups, Cahoots. See it there, and where my record of Cahoots is. This my Cahoots record. Yes, this is my Cahoots record. Also on the red capital. Had the Life is a Carnival with Alan Toussaint, doing the horns. Again, you see Garth there with the beard, pretty distinctive. When I paint my masterpiece, and then the back has the Richard Avedon photo. A couple of things about Garth Hudson. I mean, when he joined the band, he was the only person in the Hawks I mentioned back in the 50s, before Dylan picked them up for the tour of England in 1966 after he went electric at Newport 65. Timothy Chalamet movie, talked about this. Garth was the only one. He was Canadian, like Manuel, like Robertson, and like Danko, but that had classical training. So he gave them music lessons, which was pretty cool, and really upped their game. Of course, he was the keyboard guy in the background, playing mostly organ. He also played sax. He also played accordion. He was a multi-instrumentalist. Very, very talented, wonderful guy. Where was I? Got through Cahoots, right? So we're up to 71. 68 was Big Pink. 69 was the band. 70 was Stage Fright. 71 was Cahoots. Now in 71, 72, and New Year's, the band decided they were, New York based, to come down to 14th Street at the Academy of Music, which had taken over for the Fillmore East. So many concerts. I did not go to the Fillmore East, but I went to the Academy of Music many, many times. So Peter Frampton, Jay Giles, Cheech and Chong, Bachman Turner Overdrive, New Riders, Commander Cody, Billy Cobham, Hot Tuna, just great, great people. Rock of Ages, 1971-72. This was the New Year's show. Bob Dylan showed up. He's not on this album, but he is thanked, along with Doc Thomas and Bobby Charles, and Toussaint did the charts, as he had done the charts for Life is a Carnival. On Stage Fright, they had him do the charts for this, and it's just a great live album. It's like a best of. Opens up with Don't Do It, the old Holland Dozier tune from Motown, King Harvest, Get Up Jake, which really isn't on any other album. I think there's on one of the deluxe editions of the CD, I think there's a studio version of it. Stage Fright, Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, Across the Great Divide, Wheels on Fire, Rag Mama, The Wait. It almost serves as I'll show them to you, but they'll probably come out backwards. Just a great, great album. Rock of Ages, highly recommended. 2 records, Snooky Young, Howard Johnson, Joe Farrell, Earl McIntyre, J.D. Parent, and Garth Hudson do the horns, like I said. Toussaint mixes them, and Dylan shows up. I think there's a Dylan picture here, him with his shades. Yeah, here he is. There's Dylan with his shades in 71, 72, and if you can see that. There he is. There's Bobby. You can call me Bobby. So, we're up to 72. That was a 72 live album. In 73, they went back to their roots, as they were the kings of roots rock, and did the songs they used to do with the Hawk. This was called Moondog Matinee, and they did all covers on this. The only cover they had on those albums, well, there were covers on the live album. I mentioned Don't Do It, Don't Hang Up My Rock and Roll Shoes. Oh, on Rock of Ages, I forgot to mention the Genetic Method is a great Garth Hudson solo that's followed by the Chest Fever, which is my favorite band song, and the studio version of that is on Big Pink. So this came out in 73, Moondog Matinee. The covers, Ain't Got No Home, Great Pretender, Holy Cow, Share Your Love, Mystery Train, just great. Change Is Gonna Come, the Sam Cooke, Promised Land, a couple of type of songs. Of course, interesting, 73 this came out, and this is the same time 73 they did Watkins Glen with the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers, and Jerry played a lot of these songs. He played Promised Land and Mystery Train, not a lot, but 2. So that's great 50s. And I remember when this came out in 73, I really didn't know 50s music much, and I thought, wow, this sounds really good, really fresh, really has bite, really has punch. Bob Ludwig was the mastering engineer on this. Very crisp sounding album, again on the Capitol. I think it's the red label. This was black at this time, so I went from red to green to black. There's a great cover with them kind of at a pool hall, a dive shooting pool, a drawing of them that I don't have. So, and this was recorded at Bearsville, where starting a stage Fright, and then I guess there was a studio up there, and then Grossman expanded or built it by the time of Cahoots. So we are up to 73. In 1975, the band had become so big. They'd been on Time Magazine. You had Watkins Glen, I'd mentioned, with the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers. Robbie went back and dug out the basement tapes. Now, these were the tapes of when the band came back from Europe after touring with Bob Dylan. Levon wasn't on that tour. Mickey Thomas, I think his name was the drummer, great drummer from the West Coast. But they brought Levon back in, and they recorded a lot of original stuff with Bob Dylan. Great cover here with all these characters on it. See all these weird characters starting with Bob Dylan. And you see right behind Bob is Garth and Robbie and Danko. And I think that's... it's Levon with the glasses, and they had fun, and Manuel. So 67, Saugerties, the Big Pink House, and just great songs. Bessie Smith, Clothesline Saga, Tears of Rage was on this. Of course, this was 75, so it was released by the band for You Ain't Going Nowhere. Long Distance Operator, Wheels on Fire, Too Much and Nothing, Orange Juice Blues, Yazoo Street Scandal. I mean, it's just filled with great Dylan and band stuff. Ain't No More Cain is on here. And they take turns. They all take turns. Levon, Danko, and Dylan doing most of and Manuel doing the vocals. So we're 75, 74. That was 75 and 74. They did the tour. I saw them at the Garden, as I mentioned, and at Spectrum. Bob Dylan came out, then the band came out, then they came out together, I think. It's just spectacular. Really, really great stuff. Remember, they did Endless Highway, they did You Can Awake, they did some really deep cuts in there, besides all the Stage Fright and the Wade and Across the Great Divide and all that stuff. This was the Great Planet Wave. So at the end of that tour in November, they went in the studio in LA and cut this for Geffen. This was a Geffen label, and really great album. Forever Young is on here. Tough Mama, again, Garcia cover. Garcia was a really big fan of the band and Robbie Robertson's songs, covered a lot of them. Mystery Train was, of course, a cover going back to Elvis, but he did Tears of Rage. He did I Shall Be Released. Again, Bob Dylan. What are the bands? Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. Garcia does a killer version of that. And he did Tough Mama, which was Bob Dylan, of course, wrote, but with the band backing up again. Garth Hudson on organ. And, recorded in West LA. Really good album. Very good writing, and mostly Bob Dylan. It's really a Bob Dylan album with the band backing it, but it's I include it. I want to include it. It's my channel, so I can do that. And then in 1976, we're up. So we did 74, 75, 76. Robbie wanted to come off the road. Robbie was very interested in film at that point, and he talked to Scorsese. Let's have a big send-off, and you get The Last Waltz. And most people know this. Paul Butterfield, Eric Clapton, Neil Diamond, Bob Dylan, Emmylou Harris, Ronnie Hawkins, Dr. John, Joni Mitchell, Van Morrison, The Staples, Ringo Starr, Muddy Waters, Ron Wood, and Neil Young. So it doesn't get any more star-studded than that. Fantastic set list. This went back to Warner's. I don't know how they bounced off Geffen. I guess Dylan had that contract with Geffen, so Warner's got this. Mo Austin got Mo Austin wanted the band for Big Pink, and when Grossman, who was the manager for Dylan and was representing the band at that, sent him the tapes and stuff, Austin wasn't there, so he went with Capitol because they said yes. 5,000 people at Winterland, and they served. It was a Thanksgiving concert the night of Thanksgiving, and they had breakfast the next day. I think everybody knows this album pretty well. I mean, Life is a Carnival, Stage Fright, great version of The Wait with the Staple Singers from this, and Evangeline with, that's actually two of my favorite parts of this album. The Staple Singers, The Wait, and Evangeline with Emmylou Harris. You got, what else? I Shall Be Released at the end, Mystery Train with Paul Butterfield, Mannish Boy with Muddy Waters, just great. Coyote, Helpless, Neil Young, Up on Cripple Creek, opens it up, and they sprinkle the night they drove Old Dixie down, Further on Up the Road with Clapton, etc., etc. Really fantastic album. Great horn section with this one too. A lot of the West Coast guys, Tom Malone, who was in the Blues Brothers band, Howard Johnson again on tuba, who was also on the Rock of Ages, Jim Gordon on tenor sax, flute, and clarinet. That's not the same Jim Gordon. I don't think that was the drummer. And Garth plays organ, accordion, saxophone, and synthesizers on this. So we can find a picture of Garth. There's Ronnie Wood. And there's Dylan. He did Baby Let Me Follow You Down and The Forever Young from, the one they had just done with the band. So he did something from the first album, and then he did something from his last album, which was good. Neil Diamond, who's surprisingly good, did Dry Your Eyes. And the band and Robbie Robertson had worked with a lot of these people. There's Emmylou. You got Clapton, Van Morrison there. You guys have probably seen this. And Neil. And I'm looking for a good picture. There's a good picture of Garth at the organ at 76 at the last wall. So it's on. I have it in all. This one I have in all formats. I have the album. I have the movie, of course, and I have a DVD remaster of it. So that's pretty much it. Rest in peace, Garth. The end of all five of them have passed away. Robbie passed last year in 23. He was the last one. The first to go was Manuel. Took his own life down in Florida. Very tragic. And there was a lot of strife, a lot of fighting about money. There were drug and alcohol problems. They were so brilliant that I think their brilliance sort of made them crack like an egg. That's kind of the image. But it all comes out in the music, and their music was outstanding. So last time I saw them, I'll just finish up because we're almost at 20 minutes. I saw them up at SPAC in Saratoga with Little Feat, so that was great. But this was in the 90s, so Manuel had passed, and Robbie had long left the band. This is around the time of Jericho. So they were doing Crazy Mama and all that stuff, the High on the Hog stuff and Jericho stuff. I guess it would, yeah, it was about that time. I have to look and see exactly when that was. Maybe Jericho hadn't come out. I remember Danko wandering around backstage with a beer bottle, drinking Heineken. And they had Jim Wider and Randy Charlamente and Richard Bell was on piano. Those guys were multi-instrumentalists because they could fill in everything the other guys were doing. And Garth was on keys, and Levon on the drums, and Danko on the vocals, with Levon on the bass. That's the band. Rest in peace, Garth Hudson. You will be missed. Really, really interesting guy. I listened to an album today. I was streaming of all covers of band stuff that he did up in Canada. It was really, and he picked such interesting songs for people to cover. He had Bruce Cockburn and the Cowboy Junkies, a lot of Canadian artists on it. Doodah Dave signing off. Watch the band, listen to the band, and the band, yeah, they were a mighty force to be reckoned with in American music. Rocking out, They had the New Orleans thing going. They had the jazz thing going. They had the horn thing going. They had the funk thing going. They just, and then nobody sounded like them. They were completely original. I remember reading about one more quick story. So when Robbie, when they first, there was a lag between when the album came out in '68. For some reason, I think Danko was in a car accident, got drunk and crashed up his car. So it wasn't until '69 till they played the Fillmore West. And Robbie was sick as a dog. He had 104-degree fever. So Bill Graham, who ran the Fillmore West, was panicking. This was in his book. And he sent a hypnotist in to try to hypnotize Robbie so they could go on stage. And they did. And he made it through. He didn't remember much of the performance. But they played many, many more times. They were great live. Fantastic live. Just really excellent. Hit the ground running. There's a great thing on YouTube from the mid-'70s, I think, right before, maybe '76, from Assyria Mosque. That's very good. There's stuff from, of course, Festival Express. They were on with the Grateful Dead in '70. There's, of course, all the stuff from '76, later '76, from the Last Waltz. And there's footage of them from, there's some other footage on there, not Fillmore. I can't remember exactly where, but they were really, really good. I mean, you could catch early performance. Oh, I know where it is. They were over in England. '74, they played England, the big arena over there, Wembley. All right, same time. I think they might have played, I don't know if they played the same song. Crosby, Stills and Nash went over there. I don't know if that was on the same bill or not, but so Doodah Dave signing off. We'll see you soon. I'm going to try to do 2 videos a week. That's my plan. Keep watching, keep rocking. Shout out to all my YouTube buddies out there. Tony's LPs Are Us. And my audiophile friend in LA. I hope he is safe. And all the rest of the good people. Dylan down in North Carolina and all the good folks out there. Vinyl Richie. So keep on trucking. Long live the band. Take care, guys. Bye. Oh, please hit the subscribe button. It's a little late, so I'm not thinking clearly. And, leave a comment if you can. I would appreciate it. All right? Cold here in New York, and we'll see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye.